The cruelty of the crossroad, why Jay Slater walked away from the wheel that night. The jagged silhouette of the Teno mountains against the pre-dawn Tenerife sky is a sight that haunts anyone familiar with the disappearance of Jay Slater. It's a landscape of harsh beauty and hidden perils, where a single misstep can cascade into catastrophe. Now, a chilling new detail, revealed by a seasoned investigator whose career was forged in the crucible of high-profile disappearances like Madeleine McCann's, casts the final hours of the 19-year-old into an even more heartbreaking light. According to this source, Jay Slater was offered a lifeline, a lift home from a festival acquaintance playfully nicknamed Jonny Vegas, and, driven by a tragically mundane reason, he turned it down. Mark Williams Thomas, the former detective-turned-investigative journalist known for his deep dives into complex missing persons cases, brought this poignant detail into the public domain. His sources, likely drawn from painstaking reconstruction of Jay's final known movements and interviews with those who saw him last, paint a picture of a young man caught at a fatal crossroads, blinded by circumstance and perhaps youthful bravado, to the danger lurking just beyond the headlights. The setting, Euphoria's shadow. Picture the scene, Sunday morning, June 16th. The relentless pulse of the NRG Music Festival at Papagayo Beach Club has finally faded. Bodies are spent, minds fogged by adrenaline, lack of sleep, and the lingering effects of celebration. Jay Slater, far from his familiar Lancashire surroundings, was deep in this world. He traveled to Tenerife with friends, but somewhere in the whirlwind of the festival, paths diverged. By the early hours, he found himself miles from his tourist apartment in Los Cristianos, stranded in the remote village of Masca, a place accessible primarily by a winding, treacherous mountain road. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It was here, Williams Thomas reports, that Jay encountered the man known colloquially as Jonny Vegas. The nickname itself hints at a larger-than-life character, perhaps affable, perhaps slightly chaotic, but seemingly harmless in the context of a festival afterglow. They weren't close friends. They were festival acquaintances, sharing the bleary-eyed aftermath. Crucially, Jonny Vegas had a car. In the vast, unfamiliar expanse of Tenerife's rugged northwest, far from taxis and tourist buses, that car represented salvation. It was a ticket out of the isolation, a direct route back to safety, warmth, and connection. The offer. The open door. The offer was made. Jonny Vegas, likely eager to get home himself or simply offering a fellow reveler a helping hand, proposed the solution. Hop in, mate. I'll give you a lift back to Los Cristianos. It was a simple gesture, one repeated countless times across the globe every weekend. The engine idled, a metallic promise against the growing silence of the mountains. The passenger door, figuratively and literally, stood open. The refusal, the tragic turn. And Jay Slater said no. According to Williams Thomas's sources, the reason wasn't fear, suspicion of Jonny Vegas, or some complex, hidden motive. It was heartbreakingly ordinary. Jay reportedly told his acquaintance that his phone was almost dead. He was worried. The investigator suggests that he wouldn't be able to contact his friends to let them know he'd arrived safely if he got a lift. He seemingly prioritized communication after arrival over the immediate means to arrive safely. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Think about the crushing weight of that mundane anxiety. A dying phone battery, a universal modern frustration. The fear of being unreachable, of causing worry to mates waiting back at the apartment. In that moment, illuminated by the car's interior light, the perceived social obligation to update his friends immediately upon return seemingly outweighed the stark, physical reality. He was stranded in a dangerous, unfamiliar location. Exhaustion and potentially other factors clouding his judgment. He chose the prospect of a dead phone over the certainty of a warm seat heading home. The walk into the abyss. So, instead of sinking into the passenger seat, Jay Slater apparently indicated he would walk. He set off into the pre-dawn gloom, aiming not for the main, perilous TF, 436 road, snaking through the mountains, but intending to take a supposedly quicker shortcut on foot. This decision, born from the refusal of the lift, set him on a path that vanished into the rugged terrain. His last known phone location, near the rural Teno Park, shortly after 8:50 a.m., marked the point where the signal died and Jay Slater effectively disappeared from the world. The investigator's lens. Recognizing the critical juncture. For Mark Williams Thomas, viewing this case through the lens of decades spent dissecting disappearances, this moment, the refused lift, resonates with profound significance. It's the kind of pivotal, seemingly insignificant detail that investigators meticulously search for. Why? Because it represents the critical juncture, the point where fate could have pivoted onto an entirely different, safer path. It's these small decisions that often have the biggest consequences in missing persons cases, Williams Thomas might reflect, drawing parallels to countless other investigations. A wrong turn taken, a ride declined, a path chosen in haste or impaired judgment. In Jay's case, the refusal of that lift, reportedly over concern for his phone battery, was tragically misjudged. It placed him directly into a high-risk environment, alone, exhausted, and ill-equipped, when a safe passage was literally offered. He sees the cruel irony. Jay declined the lift to preserve his ability to communicate his safe arrival, yet by doing so, he removed himself entirely from the network of communication and safety the car represented. The very thing he sought to safeguard, connection, became utterly impossible the moment he walked away from it. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. The weight of the mundane tragedy. This revelation transforms Jay Slater's disappearance from a baffling mystery into a profoundly human tragedy underscored by cruel, everyday logic. It wasn't necessarily a sinister encounter or a grand dramatic event that sealed his fate at that precise moment. It was a simple, relatable decision made under duress, fatigue, and the pervasive anxiety of modern life, the dying phone battery. It speaks to a dissonance many experience, prioritizing digital connection over immediate, tangible safety. It highlights how exhaustion and stress can warp risk assessment. A mountain path at dawn, after a long night, might not seem as daunting when the alternative feels like letting your mates down by not texting, "I'm back." The sheer, crushing ordinariness of the reason makes the consequence unbearably poignant. The unanswered questions and lingering shadows. This detail, while illuminating a critical moment, doesn't solve the mystery. What happened after Jay walked away? Did he become disoriented on the shortcut? Did he fall? Was there an unforeseen medical episode exacerbated by exhaustion? Did he encounter someone else? The treacherous ravines, steep drops, and labyrinthine paths of the Teno Mountains remain silent witnesses. The extensive search, hampered by the terrain, yielded no definitive answers. Jonny Vegas, identified as Johnny Hodgson by some reports, has been interviewed by police. He reportedly stated Jay seemed out of it, but not overly distressed, and that he himself left the area shortly after the offer was declined. He represents the last known friendly contact, the man who offered the escape route Jay, tragically, felt he couldn't take. The echo in the mountains. The image of Jay Slater waving off that car, turning his back on safety to venture alone into the unforgiving landscape because his phone was dying, is an image steeped in heartbreaking futility. It's a stark reminder of how fragile our safety nets can be, how easily a chain of small, pressured decisions can lead to irreversible consequences. Mark Williams Thomas, drawing on his grim expertise, has shone a light on this pivotal, tragic refusal. It doesn't lessen the mystery of what ultimately befell Jay Slater in those mountains, but it deepens the profound sense of loss. It underscores the cruel randomness of fate, hinging on a split-second choice driven by a worry as commonplace as a low battery warning. In the grand, indifferent sweep of the Tenerife peaks, Jay Slater made a choice that night that seemed small, logical even in his fatigued state, but which echoed into a devastating silence. The lift was turned down, The door closed, and the long, lonely walk into the unknown began, all for the sake of preserving a connection that was lost the moment he stepped away from the car. Subscribe the channel to get such videos.